What makes a place special? Is it the buildings? The people? The memories you make there? Or is it something more? What is college? Is it 4 years of school? Or is it the start of a journey that lasts forever? Is it lessons in a classroom? Or lessons in life? At Notre Dame, it's all of that and more. You will ask yourself the big questions. What is a good life? Why must faith and science coexist? What kind of person do I want to be? What legacy will I leave? You will spend time studying and investigating, only to realize that what you're learning is less about the job you will have and far more about the person you will be. At Notre Dame, your journey is about knowledge and faith. You will learn humility and gain confidence as you seek to better yourself and the world around you. In the classroom, your professors will inspire you. In your residence hall, you'll find a family who will walk through each step of your Notre Dame journey with you, and who will be there for you long after your paths diverge. And by the end of your first semester, you will know that your residence hall is the best dorm on campus. You will laugh. You will come together in community. You will cheer for Notre Dame and for your friends. Because when you join the Notre Dame family, you become part of something that is bigger than yourself. You'll find competition on the sports fields, but compassion and caring from your roommate and professors. The traditions that are so ingrained in Notre Dame's culture will become second. You'll stay off the grass on God Quad and avoid the front steps of main building. You'll hug your peers at Mass when it's time for this, and you'll know to rub Rockney's nose and Soren's foot as you pass their statues. Your perseverance, your grit, your big questions, pursuit of the truth will lead you to heights you can't even imagine. The spirit on campus is palpable, whether you're kneeling at the grotto or preparing for a home game. The alumni will envy you as they return to the hallowed halls you walk each day, and you'll be inspired by their dedication and impact since their time at Notre Dame, knowing that the same steps await you as you join them as alumni. You may not know where your passions lie yet, but you'll find them here. We won't ask you to pick one thing that you love. We'll encourage you to do all the things you love. You can be anything and everything you want to be at Notre Dame. When you find the sun setting on your college career, you will realize that your Notre Dame journey wasn't about where you were going, but about who you are becoming. So no, Notre Dame is not buildings, 4 years of school, or lessons in a classroom. It is a journey enriched by the people who travel with you and the memories you make with them as you prepare to change the world. Your home under the dome awaits. Welcome to the Notre Dame family. Go Irish.
I love that video. And right now, I'm so happy to welcome our fabulous guests for this evening's conversation related to all things college going and the Notre Dame experience. My good friend, my little sister, Rochelle Valsaint. Hey, Rochelle.
Hey, Kendra. Thank you
How
for
you?
bringing all this energy. Thank you for having me. I am looking forward to everything about this conversation.
Well, part of the reason why I wanted you to be part of this conversation, one, because you served as the president, you served as the chair of the Black Alumni of Notre Dame. You have been very active in ensuring the mission, which is to increase the presence of Black students and faculty and those experiences on campus. Secondly, you are in our Black Domers book, and you get to tell your story from the hundreds of stories that have been told from our first graduate of Notre Dame, Fraser Thompson, in 1947, all the way through one of my most recent graduates, I'll say recent, 2017, which was Corey Robinson, who was the second Black student president, the third, Black student, I think he's the third, because we had one after him. And then the third thing is that you also wrote a book and you have a lot of knowledge around college planning and college going and how to get there. And so I wanted to make sure to bring your expertise into room and give people an opportunity to hear you. I want to pick your brain, all things Notre Dame, but also in general, just a college experience, prep, college going, and college exiting. So why don't we start with you just sharing a little bit more about yourself so that people sort of who may not know you get to know you, and those who love you and adore you will get reintroduced to you.
Yeah, I got a text literally from an alum saying, I look forward to tonight.
Oh,
So
nice.
I feel the love. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
My journey, and yeah, that video is something.
Yeah, I like that one.
It's amazing because I do think whatever journey leads you to Notre Dame, because it is no coincidence. You end up getting to even know about Notre Dame. My story in the Black Domers book talks about I was an inner city public school student in New Orleans, my hometown. I live in Atlanta now, but my hometown, and not Catholic, grew up Baptist, had no idea about a Notre Dame. Living in New Orleans, we're all about culture and music and everything local, and most people born pre-Katrina, born in New Orleans, stay in New Orleans.
Yes.
And certainly don't leave. I can say when I went to Notre Dame, it was my first time out of the state. But just getting back to the journey leading there, the way I got to Notre Dame as that inner city public school girl was walked into my counselor's office. My counselor asked me what colleges I planned to apply to. And as a senior, I had not thought past my dining room chair, which is next to me, like most seniors. And the folder with the Golden Dome was on it. I turned to the right and saw it and said, well, what's that school? And his eyes lit up and got excited. So go and buy the Black Domers book to learn the rest of it, and how my white male English teacher helped push this story further along, because I'm sure a lot of y'all have the people that tell you what you can't do that help push your story further along. But the bottom line is I was an Upward Bound student, so I was in a college prep program, and my journey to Notre Dame was no accident. It was fate. It wasn't, it was storied. And if you read every story in that book you just showed, you just see over and over that it's no coincidence. And so whatever journey leads you to Notre Dame is one that is fateful for you and meant for you. And the fact that you may be listening in on this conversation, there are all kind of signs and miracles and wonders that will get you there. So we are here to help you in terms of thinking about that. I graduated from Notre Dame in 95, and in 1997, I joined the Black Alumni of Notre Dame for the purpose that Kendra just said. I had made it through what was a tough experience. I will not sugarcoat that. Like, it made me who I am. It was a tough experience from New Orleans, having never left the state, being in an all-Black community, going to Notre Dame. And I say it today, still, it is the whitest experience I've ever had. Literally and figuratively. I had never seen snow, didn't have a coat, had never seen that many white people in my life. So going through the culture shock, making it through all the things that come with that. And I could say, while I'm talking about 1995, it's very similar today.
Sure.
Those conditions. And so when I joined the alumni board in 1997, I did that to connect with people who had gone through that experience, because we have a deep connection because we went through that. And then to pave the way for the next generation. So college planning is what I am immersed in right now. I had been doing it as a side gig alongside my corporate experience and recently took it on as a full-time endeavor as an entrepreneur. So my goal is to help the next generation of students, and I want to touch 10,000 if I can, get to and through and thinking about paying for college. So that's a little bit of background.
Yeah. So now think about what you experienced in even searching for Notre Dame or finding it in that pamphlet or brochure that was on the side of the desk in the counselor's office. As a parent or a student who's beginning to think about this, when is it time to think about it? What should a parent, a student be doing to get them prepared for college or prepared for Notre Dame at that matter?
Yeah. A school like Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I will say to you, I sat in the room on the alumni board year after year. A part of our efforts were to help with recruitment, which is what you're doing.
That's what I'm doing.
And we would get a list of students every year in our fall meeting that Notre Dame wanted to recruit. And when I was sitting in that room, that list seemed to be about 100 names every year. And I kept going, oh, and the other caveat to that is those same 100 names were students that were being recruited by peer institutions, Harvard, Stanford.
Right.
Yeah. So you got 100 names and the same schools
are fighting
for them. I kept going, this list has to grow. Like we can't just all be fighting for the same kids. How do we grow the list? And so that's what brings me to saying, if you are listening in on this conversation and you're a senior, it's real interesting because that means you have to be, you're either doing early apply in November here or regular decision applying in January. And that means you already have to be prepared with your scores, with your grades, with your recommendations from your teachers, etc. And the hard part about what I kept realizing in those conversations were we don't start until senior year and we must start sooner. So I'm hoping there are juniors looking at this or that will look at this. I'm hoping there are sophomores that will look at this. I'm hoping there are freshmen and even middle schoolers that will look at it. Because my goal was to start in touching 10,000 students and helping them get to college. My goal was to pull the bullhorn and say, senior year is late.
Yes.
Do not start preparation senior year. It's not just about completing applications. It's about so much more. And I think there's too little information. There's to tell you when things need to be done, how things need to be done. There's a lot of you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do the other. And then there's no completion of, well, when do I do that? How do I do that? Where do I get the information to do that? And I feel like when I talk to our families, Black families, we lack in information and therefore it keeps us behind. So what would I say to families thinking about it? Seniors, you're well on your way. You're either going to be in or not. You're writing essays right now if you're looking at regular action applications. So make those those essays strong. They are critical. They are the thing that represents you in the room when you're not there to tell who you are and what you're about.
Right.
So make that essay strong. Those test scores, know what your student profile is. And if you don't know what the word student profile is, you need to look up my website, ecollegeplanner.com, and start a conversation with me. Or just go to the website and reach out to me from there. But your student profile, understanding what your student profile is and how it lines up with a Notre Dame or any other peer institution is the start. And then the other part is be clear on how to pay for college. I am actually, one of the programs I offer is scholarship, a scholarship program where I help you search and have accountability to get those scholarships, because Notre
Mhm.
Dame costs what,
It's
75?
so this year is $80,000
$80,000.
a
And
year.
I can say to you, my daughter just graduated from Pepperdine, and I know what tuition looks like at those numbers. And
Mhm.
having your how to pay for college plan is critical. So
Right.
those are the two things: understanding your student profile. I'll say three things: getting those essays that represent you in the room, and understand how you're going to finance your college education.
Yeah. Well, and to speak more specifically about Notre Dame, so what Rochelle was just sharing was that the first deadline is November 1st. That's early restrictive action, right? That's you have to already have your stuff ready to go because you're ready to press send. You're just looking at your essays, you're making sure all of your things are in order so that you can submit. And then the second date is January 1st. And what Notre Dame requires is a reference or recommendation from your counselor. And most high schools have students fill out brag sheets so that they can write a letter of recommendation. And then from one of your core subject areas. So that's your English, your mathematics, your sciences, your world history, maybe even, nope, not your foreign languages. So it has to be one of those
Four.
four
Mhm.
subject areas. So you need two references. It doesn't matter if you submit 10 of them. Two are the only two that are going to be looked at is your counselor and one of your core teachers. And then the other thing too is, Notre Dame, in addition to your Common App or QuestBridge application, will also require their own essay. So you might be doing a Common App essay, and that would suffice for Notre Dame and Florida State and maybe even for Harvard. I'm not sure if they're on Common App, but whatever schools are attached to Common App, there's that one common essay. And then each school has their own separate requirements, and Notre Dame has their separate requirement. They have one essay. It's basically what would you fight for? And then there's a number of optional essays. There's four choices, and you get to pick one. And to Rochelle's point, this is where you can take your voice and amplify it to share the type of person you are. Notre Dame, I think, it's three pillars to Notre Dame. It's spirituality, right? It's academics and it's service. And those three things, because they do holistic scoring, they're really looking for the person who's going to show up on that campus inclusive of your academic prowess and all those other things. They're really looking for the people who are going to make Notre Dame proud and keep the institution at the forefront of conversations around companies and corporations and entrepreneurs who are interested in the minds of service and spiritually oriented people. So, my second question to you, Rochelle, related to what you just shared is, so what's the experience like on campus? What should students be prepared to lean into on a college campus, and then specifically about Notre Dame?
Mhm. So here's what I want to say to that. I was jotting some things down as that video played, because it said your knowledge. It talked about your faith, and you just
Yes.
talked about how your spirit is. I want every student to know that when you get into Notre Dame and the other schools you get into, especially Black students, what I think is important is to know you belong there.
Yes.
There was no coincidence to you getting in. So I want you to walk into that school understanding that you bring something to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And with that understanding of what you are bringing to the table, what you're bringing to the table is you. You are good enough.
Right.
And the exchange is you are there to get your education, and you are there to contribute to that university just by being you. So, for my own experience, I could say, um, going to Notre Dame from New Orleans, I cannot tell you how much I learned about myself in terms of being a young Black woman. And I could say the same thing for my now 23-year-old who went to a predominantly white institution at Pepperdine, and learned more about herself as a Black woman. So come again, I said it was the whitest place I had ever been. So I had always been around Black people, but when I went to Notre Dame, there were Black people from all over the country and internationally. And I learned that Black people are not a monolith. They aren't all from New Orleans.
Right.
I have friends who would ask me to just talk. I have a girlfriend who still just says that because she liked my accent. And so I learned all these things about Black people, how different we are, how amazing we are. So I want students to understand you belong there. You're supposed to be there. You are there and you will have some challenges too. So
Right.
to understand that, I think we all walk into situations, especially being in the Black community, thinking we have to be perfect and not understanding we need to ask for help.
Yes.
And that we will struggle. There will be struggle. You will need to ask for help. And so while you are there at this, having this amazing experience, understand and know that you will need community. You will need to build it. You will need to ask for help and use the many resources that are on campus. And you're going to have struggles, and it's going to be hard, whether it is socially, culturally, because I think Notre Dame challenges you in all these ways: your spirit,
Yes.
your head, your heart, and your cultural identity.
Yeah.
Because you are gonna, all of those things are gonna come up and come in question, and you're in an exploratory time as a young person. So you're walking on campus with all of that a little unclear. But as you walk those 4 years, 4 to 6 years that you're there for as an undergrad, you're there to explore them and be okay with some of the unknowns and knowing that you're going to struggle, but building community, asking for help, and applying the best of you, knowing that you belong there.
And I would also underscore that, in Notre Dame, there are a number of clubs and organizations in which you can belong. And when I was on campus, I was with Voices of Faith, which is the gospel ensemble on campus. That's where I found my spirit and my community. I worked jobs with an S on campus. Part of it was to help supplement my education, but also to just be in community with other folks who are just scrapping just like I was. I did work in my major that required me to do stage management and production work for theater and film, because that was my major. But it took me a while, just as Rochelle said, to find my people. And I did have the mentality to kind of stick it out and rough it. And that didn't work. I mean, I was losing myself until I was able to find that community in a way that kept me there for those 4 years. A lot more clubs and organizations now, actually probably too many, but there are 600 of them. So depending on how you identify, and not all of them are, racial or ethnic in nature. Some are, it's probably a Quidditch club. I know that there was one at my children's high school. I was like, how do you actually play a Harry Potter Quidditch game? But you can, right? There's a club for almost anything. And so depending on how you identify and what will bring you joy in a very, can be challenging time being on your own on college campus and sort of finding yourself, I would say absolutely lean into those clubs and organizations. And when you get there on campus in your freshman year, especially first semester, you're going to be exposed to many of those, right? Shop around. You don't have to make a commitment right away. So shop around, see what piques your interest, and then lean into that. The last thing I want us to talk through is, so what does the degree do for you? So what does a college degree do for you? And especially what does Notre Dame do for you, a college degree do for you? And I'll say it with this caveat. I always say for parents and students who are looking for colleges, look for this following number: the retention rate and the graduation rate. So when students come onto the campus, do they stay? How many, what's the percentage of them staying? And how do they fare in terms of graduating? And Notre Dame has one of the highest, I think Notre Dame is number 2 in the country with a graduation rate of 98%. So the return on the investment is extremely high. So don't be fooled by the numbers that some colleges and institutions will tell families, you know, we have a 67% acceptance rate, right? It's highly likely you'll be accepted on to our campus. So come. The problem is they don't tell you how many actually stay. And that's really what you want to know. Did you put all of your time, energy, and resources into getting into this school only to leave in your freshman and sophomore year? Did you persist? Meaning, is that investment worth it? Now, I'll just say this other caveat, and then Rochelle, please, feel free to answer the question. And that is, sometimes you will be in a place that doesn't fit. And that's okay too, to make a change. In fact, most students start out one major in a school, and by the time they graduate, there's nothing that they even thought that they were going to major in when they started. So changing your mind is nothing wrong with that. If you're changing it because the experience is not fitting your values, is not fitting your moral imperative, doesn't fit well with your soul and your spirit, that's fine. But if a university has a consistent trend that students don't graduate, I would say look elsewhere. Find an institution where you know you're going to get a return on investment. So what does college do for students, especially Black students? And what does Notre Dame, graduating with a Notre Dame degree, do for us?
Yeah. I'll add one thing to what Kendra said about, the you get into school, they give those rates of acceptance. We also want to know how long it takes people to finish, because
that's right.
At Notre Dame, they make sure 4 years is a priority, thankfully.
That's right.
And at that price tag, it should be. And not just Notre Dame, anybody's price tag, right?
Yeah.
So make sure that's a part of your list of questions of, do people finish? What's that rate of finishing, and how fast do they finish? For Notre Dame, I can say, and I will say this as somebody who was a communications major, I did not graduate with a job. So, and I think that's important to say that while we do graduate, and I will strongly stand by the Notre Dame Alumni Network being that return on your investment, being a part of the Notre Dame Alumni Network will open doors for you. And if you are willing to seek those doors out, right? So you can't just sit back and wait for things to come. A college degree does not guarantee you anything. You still have to pursue whatever your interests are. You have to knock on doors and be willing, and you will get some no's. So I think that's important for students to understand, because I don't want anyone to leave with some entitlement that just because you have a Notre Dame degree that you're owed something. You still have to put in the work. But what that network gives you is, it will open conversations. It will open up doors, windows, cracks, however you want to get in to a place or open a conversation somewhere. I have found that people, if they didn't go to Notre, I was literally in the Chick-fil-A line 2 days ago, and I have a Notre Dame plate on the front of my car that just is the ND insignia. And I drove up to the window, and the lady said to me, the girl in the window said, "Where in Indiana are you from?" And I was like, I'm not, I'm from New Orleans. But I went to Notre Dame. And she was like, "Oh, I'm from South Bend." And the excitement.
Oh my word.
You will run into that everywhere, from your class ring to if you're, we love our gear.
That's right.
So because we earn that. We earn the right to wear all that, to walk with pride. That whole you belong there. You belong in every room you are in. Notre Dame gives you a sense that if you make it through. And as an alumni, you have every right to. So, what that degree gives you is the confidence I'm talking about, one. And then two, the access to a network that will open doors for you. And also, it's a lifelong. I am 49 years old this year, and I am still being held up by the relationships.
Yes.
Kendra being one of them. We do an event at her house monthly, of upholding Black women and in our professions and in our personal lives that help build us. So the relationships last throughout your life. There was a recent game in Las Vegas, and
Oh my gosh.
my ex-husband, is a Black alum of Notre Dame, and friends were sending me pictures of them having fun just because they know our family, they know our
Right.
kids. So the relationships are everything, but those relationships are not just personal, they're also some of the top people in the country doing amazing things.
Yes.
So I'm talking to Kendra, who we're talking about recruitment, but she is an amazing leader. Like, she develops leaders. That is her work. This is her side work. And
Yeah.
people are running things and leading organizations and companies, etc. And that is what you get from a Notre Dame degree. And you
Yeah.
not only get access to the network, you get a know-how. And I can't underscore that know-how that other people just don't have. So it comes at that price tag. It comes at that
Right.
hard work in terms of your head, your heart, your spirit, and your culture. But you leave out of there with a knowingness, a know-how, and a network that's unmatched.
Yeah. That's well said. In fact,
Yeah, I'm writing this down because that's good.
that's so I started a new job last week, and it's been wonderful. And what I learned when I started to tell my story, so they asked me to tell my why and a little bit about where I'm from. They said, "Did you know that such and such also went to Notre Dame?" So on my team are two Notre Dame grads. And one just had a baby, and he said, "My wife also went to Notre Dame." And I'm like, okay, we are everywhere.
Yes.
We are everywhere, and most people don't know. In fact, I want to put up something as we begin to close when you talked about like where we are. And I just want to show this picture of some people who are Notre Dame alum. And I know I'm not doing it the best justice because there are many more, but I just want to show this picture. Right? I always show just this little snapshot of some of the Notre Dame alum, graduates, undergrads that our Black community may be familiar with, right? So there's Condoleezza Rice, right? Former Secretary of State. There's Arike Mbomwole, who won the national championship for Notre Dame in basketball, but she also was Rookie of the Year of the Dallas Wings. There's Christine and Michael Swanson. I call them the dynamic husband and wife duo in the entertainment business. And Christine just had another award for her film short Family New Hamer. And Mike Swanson is an NBC producer. You have Mike Brown, first African American or Black leprechaun. And since then, we've had one Black female and another Black male, Sam Jackson. You have Nicole, oh my gosh.
Nicole Hannah.
Thank you. Nicole Hannah Jones,
Yes.
1619 Project, right? New York Times Pulitzer Prize winner. And she's a Notre Dame graduate, right? And you have Jerome Bettis, who would have graduated with me, but went pro, is a Hall of Famer, inducted, into the Hall of Fame, actually inducted one of his classmates into the Hall of Fame this past year, and went back to Notre Dame and finished his degree. So this is just a small sampling when you said, Rochelle, we are out doing
big things.
Big things,
Yeah.
but big things, like big things in every industry. Politics, entertainment, education, sports. Mike is recruiting heavily and supporting the University of Notre Dame, and just wrote 2 beautiful children's books. One dedicated to his cousin, another about being a leprechaun. So again, just the amount of people who we have in our alumni network who are making a vast difference. In fact, there's going to be an event coming up that we're going to advertise for our alumni that is going to celebrate 2 of our alumni, one being Sunny Holston, which most people know from The View. Yeah. She was a graduate of Notre Dame, right? And so that's going to happen in New York in the upcoming months. And we want to support her and our alumni who are being honored for their work and their contributions to their fields. And there are so many more of us. And I would love to invite them to share their stories. While I do student recruitment, this is all about helping people understand how Notre Dame can help you with your goals and your dreams. And I want to thank you so much, Rochelle, for sharing your time, as brief as it was, just to be able to have people learn about those experiences, our stories that in some cases are shared, but also what we can be thinking about and how college could be a path for some of our students. So, I'm gonna put back in here on the name of your website, ecollegeplanning.com. Did I have that right?
You do, but you could also find me on social platforms, Rochelle Valsaint, my name, on either Facebook or Instagram. I am very active on both of those. So find me on social if you don't get to my website, and throw me questions. I am very active. So if you message me, I will respond, because I think it is an ongoing conversation. It can't be one and done. And if anything I said piqued your interest, brought up questions for you, I want to be a resource and be accessible. So reach out.
Thank you. And just to close, I am going to be here every Wednesday at 7:30. Whether you are able to tune in live, all of these are recorded and they stay on the social media platform. I'll actually push them over into our Black Alumni of Notre Dame website so that people can tune in. So if you're unable to, we're saying welcome to those of you who are watching the recording. And again, to Rochelle's point, feel free to reach out to us, ask some questions. We're going to have additional guests. And maybe, Rochelle, because you're so fabulous, you come back on and we continue the conversation with additional questions, or maybe we can have something where we can Zoom students in and have them ask you questions right away, nice and live. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. It's good to see you. Hopefully I'll see you this Saturday for our next Sister Saturday. Okay. I'm excited about it. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening, everybody.